Dante's Inferno, Canto 34, Fourth Division of the Ninth Circle, the Utica, traitors to their lords and benefactors, Lucifer, Judas Iscariot, Brutus and Cassius, the Chasm of Lethe, the Ascent. Vexilla regis praerunt inferni. Toward us, therefore, look in front of thee, my master said, if thou discernest him. As when there breathes a heavy fog, or when our hemisphere is darkening into night, appears far off, a mill the wind is turning. Methought that such a building then I saw, and for the wind I drew myself behind my guide, because there was no other shelter. Now was I, and with fear in verse I put it, there where the shades were wholly covered up, and glimmered through like unto straws and glass. Some prone are lying, others stand erect, this with the head, and that one with the soles, another bow-like, face to feet inverts. When it advanced so far we had proceeded, that it my master pleased to show to me the creature who once had the beauteous semblance, he from before me moved and made me stop, saying, Behold this, and behold the place where thou with fortitude must arm thyself. How frozen I became and powerless then! Ask it not, reader, for I write it not, because all language would be insufficient. I did not die, and I alive remained not. Think for thyself now, hast thou aught of wit what I became, being of both deprived? The emperor of the kingdom Dolorous from his mid-breast forth issued from the ice, and better with a giant I compare than do the giants with those arms of his. Consider now how great must be that whole which unto such a part conforms itself. Were he as fair once as he now is foul, and lifted up his brow against his Maker, well may proceed from him all tribulation. Oh, what a marvel it appeared to me when I beheld three faces on his head. The one in front, and that vermilion was. Two were the others, that were joined with this above the middle part of either shoulder, and they were joined together at the crest. And the right hand one seemed twixt white and yellow. The left was such to look upon as those who came from where the Nile falls valleyward. Underneath each came forth two mighty wings, such as befitting were so great a bird. Cells of the sea I never saw so large. No feathers had they, but as of a bat their fashion was, and he was waving them, so that three winds proceeded forth therefrom. Thereby Cocytus wholly was congealed. With 6 eyes did he weep, and down 3 chins trickled the teardrops and the drivel. At every mouth he with his teeth was crunching a sinner in the manner of a brake, so that he 3 of them tormented thus. To him in front the biting was not unto the clawing, for sometimes the spine utterly stripped of all the skin remained. That soul up there which has the greatest pain, the master said, is Judas Iscariot. With head inside, he plies his legs without. Of the 2 others, who head downward are, the one who hangs from the black jowl is Brutus. See how he writhes himself, and speaks no more. And the other, who so stalwart seems, is Cassius. But night is reascending, and 'tis time that we depart, for we have seen the whole. As seemed him good, I clasped him round the neck, and he the vantage seized of time and place, and when the wings were opened wide apart, he laid fast hold upon the shaggy sides. From fell to fell descended downward then between the thick hair and the frozen crust. When we were come to where the thigh revolves exactly on the thickness of the haunch, the guide, with labor and with hard-drawn breath, turned his head round where he had his legs, and grappled to the hair as one who mounts, so that to hell I thought we were returning. Keep fast thy hold, for by such stairs as these, the master said, panting as one fatigued, must we perforce depart from so much evil. Then through the opening of a rock he issued, and down upon the margin seated me. Then towards me he outstretched his weary step. I lifted up mine eyes and thought to see Lucifer in the same way I had left him, and I beheld him upward hold his legs. And if I then became disquieted, let stolid people think who do not see what the point is beyond which I have passed. Rise up, the master said, upon thy feet. The way is long, and difficult the road, and now the sun to Middle Tierce returns. It was not any palace corridor there where we were, but dungeon natural, with floor uneven, and an unease of light. Ere from the abyss I tear myself away, my master, said I when I had arisen. To draw me from an error, speak a little. Where is the ice? And how is this one fixed thus upside down? And how in such short time from eve to morn has the sun made this transit? And he to me, Thou still imaginest thou art beyond the centre, where I grasp the hair of the fell worm who minds the world. That side thou wast, so long as I descended. When round I turned me, thou didst pass the point to which things heavy draw from every side. And now beneath the hemisphere art come, opposite that which hangs the vast dry land, and neath whose cope was put to death the man who without sin was born and lived. Thou hast thy feet upon the little sphere which makes the other face of the Utica. Here it is morn where it is evening there, and he who with his hair a stairway made us, still fixed remaineth as he was before. Upon this side he fell down out of heaven, and all the land that whilom here emerged, for fear of him made the sea a veil, and came to our hemisphere, and peradventure to flee from him, what on this side appears left the place vacant here, and back recoiled. A place there is below from Beelzebub, as far receding as the tomb extends, which not by sight is known, but by the sound of a small rivulet, that there descendeth through chasm within the stone, which it has gnawed with course that winds about and slightly falls. The guide and I into that hidden road now entered, to return to the bright world, and without care of having any rest we mounted up, he first, and I the second, till I beheld through a round aperture some of the beauteous things that heaven doth bear. Thence we came forth to re-behold the stars. Finally, we are at the end of the Inferno. We are through. We are now emerging out into Purgatory. So next week we'll start Purgatoria. So the thoughts on this final canto. First of all, as we've already discussed, the brilliance of Dante's work in, if not being the first to suggest, being the first prominent to suggest this notion that not all hell is fire, but some is ice. And the deepest parts, the proudest parts, the evilest parts, the places that hold Lucifer. Ironically, he who bears light bears now darkness. What I also love is that they don't give Lucifer a whole lot of time. And there's so much wisdom behind that. Most of the church fathers and Christian teaching shows not to give the devil his due, not to let his foot in the door. When Moses' followers want to get hold of Moses' remains and worship them, St. Michael holds the devil back. Even Jesus Christ does not give the devil time to speak. The devil is a clever spirit. He's superior to any of us humans theologically. Just angels are superior to humans. Now, we have greater favor in God's eyes, but angels are superior and a master of will and material. They're not subjugated by their bodies. So notice that even though Virgil quickly moves on, he warns Dante even while they're there to brace themselves and to be on his guard. The devil says nothing. They don't give the devil time to speak. We get a page's worth. We spend more time exiting hell than we do looking at Lucifer. So I think that's important to notice. So I'll give him a little time here out of respect of that spirit. First thing to notice is that he's frozen, obviously. This powerful angel is frozen. He's arrested. Nothing could be more insulting to a spirit that thought that he could be his own god. And then he has these beating wings, these wings that are huge and beautiful, reminding us forever that he was once a beauteous creature, as the Canto says. He was beautiful, and as beautiful as he is now terrible. So his wings become a curse, not just to himself, but to all of the Inferno. It's his flapping of the wings, whether it's in protest, whether it's trying to escape, he's still focusing on himself. And so those massive wings are flapping, and they are creating the cold which congeals all of the lower Inferno. Just like our own sin doesn't just congeal us, it congeals everyone around us. It causes destruction to everyone around us. Then you see the three heads with the three colors. I'm not going to begin to interpret the colors, but I will interpret the people. Remember that along with Lucifer, this fourth and final place, the Utica, there's four prisoners here. Obviously Lucifer, but we have Judas Iscariot, Brutus, and Cassius. And so this fourth section of the Cocytus is the Utica. It's for those that are traitors to sworn allegiances. I would say that two of these are sworn allegiances to God, and two are to the world, and the world in a proper sense. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, Lucifer betrayed his allegiance to God. Obviously, Judas, and that's God the Father, Judas betrays his allegiance to God the Son, Jesus Christ, when he betrayed him in the Passion for 30 shekels of silver. Why Brutus and Cassius? Well, as Dorothy Sayers says, you have to suspend all of your biases about them. As Shakespeare has portrayed them, we always sympathize with them inside of Julius Caesar, because Caesar looks like he's becoming, and he may very well be becoming, this tyrant. It's a complex story, but we think it's about this overthrow of a would-be tyrant, and so therefore Brutus and Cassius are right to have assassinated Caesar. Suspend that for a minute. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Caesar was coming into power, and Caesar was bringing about unity across the known world at that time. One empire, one united people. There was peace coming about, and Brutus and Cassius swore allegiance to that peace. Not swearing allegiance to whether or not it would be a tyrant. They swore peace to world unity at the time. So then we see that this is the problem, that we have two traitors to heavenly unity, and we have two traitors to worldly unity. Their egos got in the way of the greater picture. Now, should Caesar have been dealt with? Absolutely, and that could have come in due course. But they didn't wait. They imposed their will, which is why they're only a few rooms over from the schismatics, the sowers of discord. They find whatever justification they need to do what they did. And so rightfully they're not as well. Final observation with this is in the way they exit hell. This can be confusing. But basically they get between the wings of Lucifer, and they run down his back along his calves, and there's chasms down there. There's basically there's a little bit of wiggle room all the way around his body between his thighs and the sides of the ice chasm and whatnot. Very cold, I imagine, rock and dirt. But basically they follow that chasm all the way to the end of his feet. And we find out that they've ended up in the southern hemisphere. Why? Because Lucifer is at the center of the world. Why is Lucifer at the center of the world? Because he's made everything about him. He literally thinks he's center of the world. Again, Dante never short of missing an opportunity for beautiful metaphor. And so what does anything that's the center of something do? It either rightly orders and has everything orbit around it like the sun or like God, or it forces things to be sucked and drawn into it like a black hole like Lucifer. And so if Lucifer is the center and they came up down to him from the head, then rightly so they must go down him back up into the world, which it sits in. So they come out his feet uh, into a cave, and they now find themselves on the southern side. So imagine just, if you will, Satan's feet are sticking out of a hole on the opposite side of the world. And those are my two last thoughts. They're two beautiful uh, metaphors there. First of all, how foolish you look when you make everything about you. That instead of getting what you want and being head of the world, you're the center of the world in the cavern, sucking everything to you and freezing it, and no one can see you in all your pride, and yet your feet are sticking out of a hole on the other side of the world looking foolish. So your own pride brings you the opposite of what you think it will. It does not bring you glory. It brings you a frozen lake. Secondly, that um, now we begin salvation. Now we begin purgatory. And what is purgatory but flipping our ego on its head, as the devil has literally been flipped on his head? So we have to do everything opposite of the way the world would tell us to do it. If the world tells us to seek glory, we seek humility. If the world tells us to seek gaining everything, we now give everything away. If the world tells us to focus on ourselves, we now focus on others. So now the work of purgatory begins.